you all don't know, this is a co-founder of NSA. You know, so he's responsible for NSA alone. So please give it up for him. Give it up for him. Give it up for him. Okay, you there? Thank you. Thank you. Please give it up for him one more time.
In 1885, Europeans from all over the world gathered in Berlin to decide the fate of a land. A fate of a land that neither of them owned and neither of them had. But they gathered for one goal, one purpose: the systematic exploitation of the land disguised as salvation of the land from its own religion. For years, Africa was raped. For years, Africa's children were suppressed by colonization. And Africa hinged on the brink of extinction. But in Africa's darkest hours, a few men dared to dream. A few men such as Nelson Mandela, a few men such as Nkrumah of Ghana, a few men such as Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria. A few men dared to dream of freedom. And what started out as a simple dream turned into a movement of not just 100 people, not just 1,000 people, not just 10,000 people. It turned into a movement of 1 million people. 1 million people speaking so strong. A movement so strong that it shook the foundations of Africa, sending waves across the deserts of Egypt, sending waves over the mountaintops of Kilimanjaro, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. Waves so strong that it shook the shackles of colonization and set Africa free. Finally, the dream was realized. But that dream has started fading. It has started changing into a nightmare. A nightmare that is defined by the exodus of 30,000 children that takes place every day in northern Uganda. An exodus that is not perpetuated by Europeans, but by the very same Africans that fought so hard for independence. Every night, the LRA rep group of Uganda abducts and kidnaps children and forces them to fight a war that none of them understand. Every night they are dragged in the middle of the night into a dark jungle. A jungle filled with evil, filled with death, filled with blood. In that jungle, it is quiet. Children don't cry. They don't cry because they are afraid, because they don't feel the pain, or because they don't feel the fear. They don't cry because they die if they cry. Every night in that jungle, a child loses his life because it cries. Because when a child cries, it is a sign of weakness to the LRA. And that child is cut. His limbs, his legs, and his left there to die. As an example to the other children that it's not okay to cry. Crying should be the right of every child. Every child should be able to cry without the fear of death. But nobody does anything. Nobody does anything in America. Nobody does anything in Nigeria. Nobody does anything in the University of Houston. Everybody just keeps quiet. Like the cries are unheard. Like the cries are unseen. Like the cries are imperceptible to the mind. Like the children are invisible. We don't do anything. We have to do something. These children don't understand what it means to be hugged by a child, by a mom. The only idea of a toy is an AK-47 in a magazine and bullets. The only idea of a game is shooting down fellow soldiers. These are 8 to 12-year-old children. That is all they see. How can we get them heard? I'm not asking you to go out there, pick up a mic, start speaking. I'm not asking you to go out there and write a check and start donating. But what I'm asking you to do today is change your mentality. One of the greatest words I've ever heard, and it was by Albert Einstein. He said this, that you cannot solve a problem with the same mentality that created it. The problem of the invisible children of Africa was created by inaction. People sitting around. And there is some